This is a podcast about music if you really love music. Let's begin. Welcome to In a State. Hello, music lovers and obsessives from all parts known and unknown. Welcome to Interstate Podcast. This is Porter Block coming to you from Brooklyn, New York. Where today, my guests are an incredible sibling rocking duo known as Jocelyn and Chris Arndt, set to release their new studio album, Fun in the Fight, which is due at the end of February. Their music and talent have been likened to some of the greats in rock history, and it draws inspiration from an eclectic classic rock catalog. I'm going to let these guys speak for themselves.
I went and got bit by the microphone. Now I got the lead in my blood and the heart in my tone.
What they do is familiar, but actually very fresh. And behind their writing and performances, there's a family there. And they've been playing and writing music together since they were kids. It feels really pent up and about to blow a gasket. It can be anthemic, bluesy, funky, jam bandy, solemn, meditative. Jocelyn and Chris Arndt, welcome to Interstate Podcast.
Thank you. Wow.
Thank you so much for having us.
So nice of you.
The introduction is generally the longest bit. No, you guys are great. You played a gig last night, and we'll talk about it. I just want to, before we get into the record, let people know a little bit about where you come from. Jocelyn, you sing and play piano. Chris, you're the guitar riff maker extraordinaire. In interviews that I've read, you said you owe a lot to your parents' support. They had a CD collection which you listened to, and I wanted to just ask you, what was it that you heard that turned you into music lovers? And did you ever seek other forms of art and expression other than music? What was it that turned you onto it?
The CD collection, was huge because it was kind of something we could do as a family, where we'd go in and we have a rule in the Arndt household that you can't have dinner without music playing in the background. First off, because we all hate the sound of chewing, but second, because the music is really important. So we'd go in and we'd pick and when Chris and I were little, it was mostly about who had the coolest album cover. So Bad Outta Hell by Meatloaf got played a lot.
It's a great album cover.
We'd pick Bare Naked Ladies, we'd pick Natalie Merchant off the shelf, Aretha Franklin, and just kind of as we ate dinner, we'd listen to the album, and by the time dinner was over, the album was wrapping up, and we'd talk about it, and maybe play it again if we really liked it. So it was always, I think for us, music was always kind of something we did with the family. You see that kind of carries over to today, where Chris and I are doing music as a team, and we always have been a team.
I followed you forever. You've known it from the start.
You guys played as your first gig, I think, Stairway to Heaven.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering, I'm trying to picture you two guys in front of a crowd of people who are probably waiting for an Aaron Carter or a Lizzie McGuire classic. And there you come up and you play Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah, so that's a pretty funny story. The way we decided to play Stairway to Heaven was about 6 months before that talent show. We hadn't ever really played out before as a group or anything.
No.
And I decided that I wanted to write a song. And I was really into classical guitar at the time. So I wrote a song that was pretty directly inspired by this piece called Romanza. And my father was like, that's Stairway to Heaven. And we played it, and then we listened to the record, and then we played it, and I was like, yeah, that's Stairway to Heaven. And so I just was like, oh, well, if I just wrote the first part of it, I should just learn the rest of the song. So I did, and then we put it together. And then we ended up performing it, and it was so much fun.
I know you have a kind of fan base. On Facebook, you ran them Cool Kids, which I love.
Yeah.
And I think that pokes fun, maybe, don't get mad at me, but you were kind of art nerds in a way.
For sure.
Definitely.
And so I'm just wondering, in your high school, performing and getting out in front of a crowd is something that you do. Was it well received?
We, it was kind of surreal, right? These 12-year-old kids walk out and start playing Stairway, and I think everybody thought oh, they're just gonna do the beginning part, And then everybody thought, oh, they're just going to do a couple verses when the vocals come in. And then everybody was like, oh, they're really doing the whole thing.
I know
right?
you did this. I'm sure you did the solo.
I
He
did
the
my
solo,
best.
note for note, and it was great.
You guys actually publish Spotify playlists
Yes,
online, and I
yes.
see you making them, which is really cool. A lot of artists sort of expose their own content exclusively online. You also did a live broadcast of a rehearsal for this gig. You use social media. Just tell me a little bit about, what that's about and connecting with your fan base through social media.
We definitely, we try to reach out, make it as interactive as possible because, in the end, we're not making music in a vacuum. We're playing for people, inspired by people. So I think it's awesome to be able to make a playlist and have people contribute and say, this is what is in my ears right now, what's in your ears right now. Because first of all, we end up, I don't know how many times someone's commented and like, you should check out this song. And I listen to it, I'm like, dang, that's a great song. There's always so much good music out there that deserves to be listened to. It's cool to kind of open up the creative process to people and have them see the behind the scenes action too. It's fun.
The rehearsal we were talking about, you guys did acoustically. We were just talking. There was a stand-up bass player.
Yeah.
Your producer, drummer, laying that foundation. You're playing that Gibson acoustic, that Hummingbird or whatever it is that I love.
Oh, I love that. It's a D'Angelico, but it's probably my favorite acoustic guitar that I've ever played. I love that thing.
Let's talk about your record. So you guys work really hard. I think this is the third full-length record.
Yeah,
Yes.
man, I can't believe that.
A couple of EPs, a live record. In an interview, Jocelyn, you mentioned the importance of privacy during the creation process. Do you feel vulnerable when you guys are writing or in the middle of writing?
I think when we're writing songs is like, we're probably at our most vulnerable, because we're trying to put together the words in a new way and tell some story that's going to make people feel something. But I feel like in order to make people feel something, you have to be feeling it yourself. So you got to kind of put yourself through the ringer a little bit. And we're always trying to make a better song and, just play the game better. Chris and I write everything together and we bring it into the studio, and then we've got David over here who, is part of the whole songwriting team, and he comes in and we're all kind of equal partners in every song, which is awesome because we've been working together now
A long time.
6 years?
6 years?
5 years?
Yeah.
We've always, since the beginning, since we started really seriously recording music, like it's always been with David and with White Lake and with Bridge Road. So I feel like we all know each other really well. Like we're really lucky in that regard because we all kind of know how each other works.
Tell me about this process of songwriting, which I always ask people about. Journaling ideas, or is it more improving, like off of, Chris, your riffs? How does that all work? How do you guys bake the cake?
It's definitely a little bit of both. So every song, Jocelyn and I write everything together. So basically the way it works is either I will have an idea for like a chord progression or a riff or something that I like, or she'll have an idea for something that she likes. And my ideas mostly just come from me messing around and going, oh, I like that. I'm going to refine it a little bit. I think Jocelyn does a little bit more of the journaling kind of thing you were talking about. But once one of us has an idea that we think will make a good song, we immediately take it to the other one, and then we just kind of keep throwing things at it until they stick, and just keep doing that until we've got like a 4-minute piece of
Do
music
you guys
that we
use
like.
technology? Do you use Pro Tools, or do you have some sort of demo? You record it?
We usually,
iPhone it?
Usually the first time we bring it to David, we just play it for him because I think the rule is that if it sounds good like that, it's a good sign for the song.
There's a song on the record Go, which I guess was your prior record, Red Stops Traffic, which is really a great song. It feels like the acoustic kind of bluesy riff, Chris, that you lay on there sets this very meditative, laconic kind of tension over which, Jocelyn, you sing a very
I like that.
amazing,
Yeah, that's an awesome
tawdry
description.
song of betrayal.
He says he'll take me dancing, yeah, he's gonna set things right. But then he rings to say he's sorry, he can't sneak away tonight. He's gotta go, don't wanna know who's on the other line. 'Cause I may be on hold, but his arms were never mine. You're causing a burn.
You're definitely right to pick up on the riff, because I feel like the riff is like the heartbeat of that song.
For sure.
So once we came up with the riff, I think everything is kind of built on top of that. And like you said, it builds, like it's like restrained at first, and then there's kind of that outburst, but then it kind of comes back at the end. Like, and I think that kind of matches the theme of the song.
Another track off that record, Footprints on the Moon.
I know what you're thinking. You don't need to make a sound. I'd be better off chasing my tail on the ground.
Really inspirational, aspirational song, and I just think it's very subtly cool. It's the first track off that record.
Yeah, it felt like a good way to start the album.
Yeah. Any reaction? That song charted, right? I mean, that was also.
Yeah, I mean, it was on the AAA, and
radio is still maybe around. Do you guys?
Oh, it's around.
Yeah,
it's
you use it.
pumping.
Do you gain a lot of new listeners?
Absolutely, we love AAA radio. Oh my, it's kind of weird for kids our age to be writing music like this. I feel like, so sometimes we feel like we're a little bit isolated, but I feel like as soon as we found out about AAA radio, it's like we found a home for our music. It just really, it clicked. Like, this is like, they get us, So like we can send this record out, and I know we've got friends in AAA radio that are gonna hopefully love it and spin it. And
in a state. Jocelyn, I know that you turned down the opportunity to pursue The Voice, which is great. And I think it takes integrity and chutzpah. Pursuing this as being a contestant in a show is not really what you're going for. Did people question your decision to turn that down?
I mean, there's always, occasionally I get like, wow, you're so good, you should be on The Voice. And I'm kind of like, well, I guess I could have been. But I think people are generally pretty understanding, especially after they've listened to music and they've seen us perform together, that this is about being the artists we are, which is both of us on stage doing original music, and so it's really flattering to be asked to be on a show like that. And of course, like, you watch it, the talent's insane. It's a great opportunity, and for some people, it's the right opportunity. Yeah, for us and for our original music, like, it's not just about my voice. It's about us. It's about Chris's guitar. It's about the songs that we write, the team that we have. That's what it's all about for us.
You've done a lot of touring. You've played some pretty big gigs. Mountain Jam, Sundance, I guess, as a feature gig. There's probably some lonely outposts and bar gigs along the way that are not as glamorous. Do you like playing it live, or is the day a kind of like, how do we waste time until we can get up there and play it?
I think it's always a blessing to be able to go out and play music.
Yeah,
like,
regardless, every show is a blessing.
Yeah.
Some shows are maybe more of a blessing than other shows,
yeah.
for sure.
We definitely have, there's some horror stories about,
We're laughing. Yep.
A doorman here had a temper tantrum and a black belt, or something where the load-in dock was locked until 20 minutes before the show, or because there was a show this past tour where we had a brake problem. So we were supposed to load in 5 hours before the show, and we ended up getting there 20 minutes after the show was supposed to start. And it's like the stuff like that.
Best setup time ever.
Yeah. I mean, it's a part of what makes being on the road such an exciting lifestyle. In the moment, it's always stressful, and I'm like, God, I can't believe I'm doing this. But then, you kind of get a few songs into the show, and you realize that you're playing music, and people are paying you, and it's just your dream, and that's the most amazing thing I think anyone could do.
This new record seems like a real step forward in a lot of ways. Can't get you out of my head. I mean, that's crazy. One of the many great tracks on Fun in the Fight. I know you talked about it before, but just talk a little bit about that title and what's behind the Fun in the Fight.
So it comes from, the Fun in the Fight comes from a lyric from a song called Kill and the Cure, which is on the album, which is one of our personal favorites, and one we've been playing out live, and it's been going really well because you just get into it. But I think more than that, when we were kind of like thinking, oh my gosh, it's our third full length, like, what are we going to name it? We were going through the lyrics and the songs and thinking if there's anything we thought stood out. And that kind of stood out to us as like, everything we're doing like feels like.
What about some of the contributors on this record? I know that there are some other players and some people who've come in and augmented your normal lineup?
Yeah, no, so we're really blessed. I know Jocelyn earlier mentioned that we've got a great working relationship with David, and he's our producer, he's also our drummer, and he works at White Lake, which is where we record. But on top of that, he's got a lot of great connections in the industry. So he's been able to get people who are just the best, like just absolutely incredible players and wonderful human beings to come and play on our stuff. And it's always the most amazing thing. I know the first time it ever happened, it was G Love, and he was recording blues harmonica. And this was
sick.
like 3 or 4 years ago now, and it was the first time we'd ever had somebody like that play on our stuff. So we had no idea how it was going to go. I kind of thought he was just going to be there for the paycheck, and he was just going to like put down like 5 or 6 tracks and then be like, all right, my 20 minutes are up, time to go. But he wanted to go more than the time that we paid him for. He just kept going, and he's like, oh, I want to like nail that part a little bit better. And I think every experience we've had since then, we've worked with Danny Lewis from Government Mule a bunch of times.
He's on this record.
We worked with Corey Wong from Wolfpack on this record, and they're both just
and Bo
so
as well.
great.
Bo Sasser from Kung Fu.
Yeah.
He's on
Oh,
there for
yeah,
him,
yeah,
and
yeah.
It's insane. It's really honestly it's like the best compliment we could ever get if someone like that, who's like we respect so much, can come in and like connect with our music and add something different to it that like maybe we didn't. You know, like it's so cool to see what other people can do with your songs. It's amazing.
This time,
In a state.
Sometimes we do a little musical bit at the end that is inspired by the interview.
Okay.
What's like the first thought that comes to your head?
Like a song to play, or like.
Like a song to play. Okay, that's perfect.
Like a rainy day, like all work and no play, like getting away. It's like strumming a guitar when I got something to say, like a song to play, like a song to play, like a song, like a song, like a song to play.
I could have gone on for hours with these two, whose combined age is less than yours truly. I gotta say that they're both wonderful people, and it gives me faith in the future of Western civilization, that kids their age are actually making music like this. There's only a few of them, but they're doing it, and they're being supported, at least temporarily, by AAA radio, and I think pretty soon, the music industry in general. Thanks to Chris and to Jocelyn and to David for supervising, and for Short for Our Media for setting the whole thing up. This is Porter Block broadcasting from New York City. If you're listening to this, you're in a state.